with a bold theme revolving around the art of dress and creativity in fashion. This show was truly a stage for stars to showcase their personalities, break boundaries, and transform the red carpet into a colorful living exhibition. However, not every choice achieved the expected level of sophistication. Alongside impressive fashion moments, there were also outfits that sparked public debate due to their confusing concepts, excessive displays, or lack of harmony with the event's overall theme. In today's video, we'll review 20 of the most talked about outfits of the night. From daring designs to choices that made viewers pause for a few seconds to think. If you find the content interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel and not miss the next videos. Katy Perry returned to the red carpet with a highly theatrical look, inspired by astronaut imagery. But the overall effect felt more like a disjointed collection of visual ideas than a coherent fashion statement. The design, created by Stella McCartney, featured a white strapless gown with a frayed, burnt-effect train, aiming for a surreal and futuristic feel. However, instead of creating the impression of a wearable sculpture, this detail made the overall look seem incomplete, lacking the necessary refinement to achieve the sophistication of haute couture. The central focal point was a reflective silver mask covered in a thin mesh, completely concealing the face and transforming the appearance into an anonymous image, despite its clear artistic intent. The execution leaned more towards a theatrical outfit than a well-structured fashion design. Additional details, such as the opera gloves with a sixth-hand effect, reminiscent of technologically generated imagery, complicate the idea unnecessarily, rather than reinforcing the original theme. The appearance of tarot cards further pushes the overall look towards a theatrical feel, creating the impression of multiple layers of ideas combined rather than a unified concept. When the mask is removed, the image of silver-plated teeth combined with bright pink lipstick creates a stark contrast with the futuristic spirit the outfit aims for. This results in a lack of consistency in aesthetic language, with the elaborate hairstyle, numerous symbolic props, and details taking different directions. The final look is difficult to define. Instead of becoming a clearly artistic fashion moment, the overall effect feels ostentatious and fragmented, lacking cohesion between the elements. Gigi Hadid appeared for her 11th time in a bespoke, sheer Mugler design, embodying the spirit of fashion as art, but leaning more towards performance than a true structural breakthrough. The outfit was built on the idea of combining elements from archives, with a silhouette reminiscent of a 1998 design and flame embroidery inspired by 2011, creating an overall look that references history but lacks originality in design language. The almost entirely sheer black dress, treated with thin fabric, has the potential to become a sculptural work of art on the body, but lacks structural innovation to make a strong impression. The crystal embellishments and floral embroidery are arranged to emphasize the body's curves, but instead of creating subtle focal points, they tend to distract the eye, making the garment visually cluttered, instead of elevating the design. These decorative details detract from the overall coherence, causing the dress to lose the necessary simplicity to reach the high standards of haute couture. The handling of the sheer voile fabric combined with the embroidery elements leans towards surface complexity rather than structural balance. The choice to reveal satin lingerie beneath the sheer fabric further reinforces the familiar red carpet trend of sensuality, but fails to offer a fresh perspective or a clear statement, instead of creating a bold conceptual step. This detail makes the overall look easily perceived as a repetition of familiar formulas. Overall, despite numerous references and elaborate techniques, this look still falls short of its comfort zone. Instead of a highly conceptual fashion moment, the overall impression is one of sufficient refinement, but lacks the necessary breakthrough element to truly stand out on a night that emphasizes creativity. Heidi Klum appeared with the ambition of transforming into a living marble sculpture. but the overall effect leaned more towards a theatrical makeup effect than a subtle interpretation of classical art. The costume, constructed from multiple layers of latex, spandex, and molded foam, while clearly intended to recreate sculptural lines, lacked the softness and grace associated with marble inspiration. The undulating details, intended to mimic the natural flow of the carved stone, felt thick, rigid, and visually heavy, making the overall effect more direct than artistic, instead of creating a subtle illusion. The design clearly revealed the material's structure, diminishing the illusory quality the original idea aimed for. The makeup, done by Mike Marino, included a veil shaped like a sculptural structure covering the face, making the appearance almost unrecognizable. This completely eliminates expressive elements, transforming the image into a highly performative living statue, but at the same time diminishes the natural connection to the red carpet atmosphere. The full body, paint in a chalky gray-white tone, combined with special contact lenses and head accessories with a stone-like texture, further emphasizes the anthropomorphic effect, creating the feeling of a sculpted entity rather than a person wearing the outfit. However, instead of achieving the refined beauty of classical art, the overall effect leans towards a sense of alienation and heavy performance. Although the transformation process is said to have taken many hours and involved a high degree of meticulous work, the final result still feels dense and heavy visually, instead of a smooth transition between art and fashion. This look leans towards shock value and excessive realism, making it out of sync with the usual elegance of the event. Kylie Jenner appeared in a design by Daniel Roseberry from the Schiaparelli fashion house, inspired by the spirit of fashion as an art form. However, instead of creating the feeling of a vibrant sculpture on the red carpet, the overall outfit was controversial due to its unusual composition and lack of cohesion. The upper part was a rigid nude corset, combined with elongated surreal details and a body-mimicking element, suggesting an illusion dressing trend. While the intention was to create an artistic effect, the execution made the overall look somewhat disjointed and difficult to grasp in terms of aesthetic direction. The skirt was made of cream and ivory satin, with folds and layers of fabric cascading around the waist, giving the impression of a design in progress rather than a clearly defined whole. Despite reportedly taking over 11,000 hours to create the Baroque pearl embroidery and intricate patterns, the resulting visual effect is still quite complex and not truly harmonious. The highlight accessory is a large silver necklace worn in a rather unusual way, making the overall look more eye-catching but also easily distracting. While this could have been a bold choice to create a focal point, in the overall context, it makes the overall composition feel heavy. The makeup style, with its bleached eyebrows and sharp lines, creates a strong contrast with the overall concept, while the hairstyle, a combination of curls and classic waves, lacks consistency, making the overall look difficult to define in terms of style instead of achieving the desired balance. Lily Rose Depp appeared with a style that embodied the elegant, subtly sensual spirit characteristic of Chanel. Within the framework of the fashion is art theme. However, instead of creating a striking and statement-making impression, the overall look felt safe and somewhat nostalgic, lacking the necessary breakthrough for an event that emphasized creativity. The gray crepe silk dress, reportedly requiring 597 hours to create with over 2,000 intricate embroidery details, failed to convey the pioneering spirit or boldness befitting the theme. Instead of becoming the focal point of the red carpet, the muted color of the outfit seemed to blend into the architectural space of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, resulting in an overall lack of strong visual impact. The choice of light blue slingback high heels with black toes also created a noticeable mismatch. While the design itself possessed its own fashion appeal, the color combination didn't quite match the dominant gray tones of the outfit, resulting in a fragmented overall composition and reduced coherence. In an event celebrating the intersection of fashion and art, This choice leaned more towards safety than experimentation. The final result felt familiar and polished but lacked surprise, making it one of the least memorable appearances of the evening. Suki Waterhouse chose a custom-made, peach-colored Michael Kors design, inspired by classical beauty, with the intention of evoking the spirit of Greek sculpture. However, instead of conveying the feeling of an elevated work of art on the red carpet, the overall look leaned more towards a runway style than a clear fashion statement. Although the initial idea aimed for the softness and fluidity of classical art, the deep V neckline and form-fitting silhouette felt familiar, reminiscent of typical red carpet dresses, rather than offering a sophisticated or fresh interpretation of the artistic theme. Instead of appearing like a living statue, the overall design lacked the strong structure needed to make a striking presence at the event. The accompanying accessories further emphasized this direction, with a laurel leaf-inspired floral wreath adorned with sparkling details, a matching bracelet, and large statement jewelry evoking the spirit of a Greek goddess. However, instead of elevating the overall look, these details made the appearance feel more like a reenacted costume than a sophisticated contemporary fashion concept. The choice of light blush and subtle eyeshadow, while harmonious, was quite safe and lacked the impactful flair expected at an event emphasizing creativity and unconventionality. The overall look therefore felt predictable and understated, lacking the necessary breakthrough. In the context of a night celebrating risk-taking and creativity in fashion, this was a rather safe approach, resulting in one of the least memorable appearances of the event. Karlie Kloss appeared in a custom-made white Dior design, a minimalist piece at an event-themed fashion as an art form. However, instead of creating a striking and performance-oriented moment, the overall look felt rather restrained, lacking the breakthrough element that would otherwise be expected from the vibrant, creative atmosphere surrounding it. The dress, designed by Maria Grazia Chiuri, featured a voluminous skirt, intentionally crafted to create a sculptural effect, while the concept aimed to transform the body into an artistic canvas. The execution lacked the necessary sophistication, sometimes giving the impression of disharmonious shapes rather than a clearly defined couture composition. The visual impact was therefore insufficient to make a lasting impression in an evening filled with highly expressive designs. Her choice of a sleek, neatly styled updo, paired with a small purple flower and light purple tone makeup, gave her a gentle but rather safe look, instead of becoming a highlight that elevates the overall look. These details make the appearance lean towards familiar minimalism, lacking the element of surprise needed in an event that emphasizes creativity. In a context where many designs are experimental and strongly exaggerated, this choice is somewhat harmonious but lacks visual competitiveness, while maintaining a polished and consistent personal style. The overall look lacks the necessary boldness, making it one of the safer and more easily overlooked appearances of the night. Kim Kardashian offered a rather bold interpretation of the theme fashion is art. But overall, it became one of the most controversial choices of the night, both in terms of structure and aesthetics. In collaboration with artist Alan Jones and design duo Whitaker Malum, she appeared in a vibrant orange breastplate crafted from fiberglass. While the idea was to transform the body into a living sculpture, the design felt heavy and rigid, more like a performance prop than a haute couture garment capable of natural movement on the red carpet. Instead of celebrating the body's fluidity, the structure completely limited its inherent softness. The sculpted details on the surface continued to exploit the body motif, which had appeared in many other designs of the night, but in this case lacked novelty, making the overall look feel repetitive rather than groundbreaking. The fact that the outfit was completed with the involvement of a car body repair shop further highlights its industrial nature, making it lean more towards technical craftsmanship than artistic emotion. The lower part, consisting of a hand-painted leather skirt with sunset-inspired color blocks, while having its own visual concept. Doesn't quite harmonize with the structured top. The burnt orange cape, loosely draped at the hips, adds a layer of movement, but instead of increasing depth, it makes the overall look heavy and overly detailed. When combined with the monochromatic hairstyle and makeup, along with minimalist accessories, the overall look, despite using a very strong color palette, lacks a clear focal point. Instead of creating an impressive and statement-making sculptural moment, the final overall feel is rigid, with too many layers of ideas but lacking the necessary cohesion. Sarah Pigeon attempted to break away from her usual minimalist style, but the result felt more like an unfinished idea than a completed fashion statement. The vibrant lime green outfit, part of a matching set, clearly showed an attempt at a sculptural interpretation of the theme fashion is art. But the overall effect lacked the necessary cohesion to fully convey the idea. The top was a strapless bandeau top with a twisted bow detail, intended to evoke the human form as an artistic element. However, instead of conveying a sense of sophistication and purpose, the structure was visually heavy, making the design appear forced and lacking continuity between concept and form. The combination with a floor-length skirt, which replaced the trousers on the runway to enhance elegance, failed to balance the elaborate top, resulting in an overall disproportionate look. The matte satin material of the outfit also failed to create the necessary visual effect to elevate the design. Meanwhile, the hairstyle with soft, natural waves, along with the light makeup and skincare products, felt too commonplace compared to the conceptual spirit of the outfit. This contrast resulted in a lack of consistency between style and idea. With an image traditionally associated with elegance and sophistication, this bold experiment did not achieve the expected effect. Instead of expanding her personal fashion language, this look felt disjointed, incomplete, and failed to truly convey the creative spirit that the event's theme aimed for. Lena Dunham returned to the red carpet after a 7-year absence as a member of the organizing committee, offering a rather direct approach with inspiration from Baroque art and historical violence. However, instead of becoming an artistic fashion moment, the overall effect felt more shocking than sophisticated in its interpretation. She appeared in a custom-made blood-red Valentino, designed by Alessandro Michele. The designer's name may be misspelled in this context. A strapless Georgette silk dress covered in sequins to evoke the blood splatter in Judith slicing Holofernes. While the artistic storytelling was clear, the execution leaned heavily towards strong visual effects, sometimes becoming overly dense, making the overall look more ostentatious than refined haute couture. The design incorporates a collar and trim, adorned with thick fur along the bodice and hem, creating a dramatic effect but simultaneously detracting from the graceful silhouette. Instead of flattering the body, these details make the overall look heavy and obscure the wearer's figure. The choice of red sandals with metal embellishments to maintain color consistency feels somewhat out of place compared to the historical inspiration the outfit aims for. Meanwhile, the pinkish-red polka dot nail polish, with its cheerful tone, creates a stark contrast to the dark and intense story the overall look attempts to convey. The light makeup and simple half-up hairstyle, while somewhat balancing the look, are insufficient to soften the overwhelming visual intensity of the outfit. The combination of 17th-century inspiration, theatrical elements, and modern accessories creates an inconsistent overall effect. The final result gives the impression of many ideas appearing simultaneously, but not being arranged coherently, resulting in a cluttered appearance instead of creating a focused and impactful artistic statement. Doja Cat appeared in a sheer, nude pleated dress designed by Anthony Vaccarello for Saint Laurent, with the idea of exploring the sculptural beauty of ancient Greek art through modern materials. However, despite the ambitious concept, the execution lacked the necessary breakthrough, making the overall look safer than a statement fashion show. The dress, constructed from silicone and latex to mimic a marble-like draping effect, instead of creating a vibrant and sophisticated feel, felt overly familiar to her previous red carpet appearances. The nude color combined with long sleeves and a high slit created a seamless silhouette, but lacked a strong enough focal point to make the overall look stand out in the event space. The matching latex cape and large gold necklace added depth to the concept, but also made the overall composition visually heavy. Instead of creating a soft, sculptural effect, these details make the overall look feel monotonous, lacking the necessary contrast to make a clear impression. The high-heeled mules made of silicone further extend the artificial material concept, but unintentionally increase the stiffness and unnatural feel of the entire look, despite being embellished with exquisite diamond jewelry. Including striking gold earrings, the accessories still fail to break free from the overall muted color scheme. The bright blonde wig combined with neutral beige makeup creates a lack of necessary contrast between the face and the overall outfit. Instead of delivering an artistic, sculptural feel, this look is rather flat and lifeless. Compared to her previous groundbreaking appearances, Doja Cat's presentation this time is overly restrained, resulting in an overall look lacking both drama and surprise, failing to fully realize the original artistic vision. Lena Mafouf, the French social media star, appeared in a Burke Acol design that leaned more towards a strong visual impact than a subtle artistic interpretation. The overall outfit clearly aimed for a striking effect, but lacked the necessary restraint to create a harmonious and profound image. The main highlight was the metal necklace resembling a sculpted hand, intended to create a symbolic sculptural illusion. However, instead of being a novel and meaningful detail, it felt familiar, like a red carpet trick that had appeared many times before, significantly diminishing the element of surprise. The idea of covering but not completely aimed to explore the interplay between concealment and exposure. But the execution lacked the necessary sophistication. The overall handling lacked smooth transitions in form, undermining the initial concept within the overall outfit. The bottom layer, consisting of a metallic top paired with a light blue pleated jersey skirt, creates a striking contrast in materials and style. Instead of complementing each other, these two elements make the overall look disjointed and lacking cohesion in design language. The low-waist design and hip cutouts emphasize the sensual trend directly, but obscure the artistic narrative the overall look is trying to build. This makes the appearance more visual than conceptual. The choice of makeup in bold blue and white tones, matching the outfit, further reinforces the color consistency but lacks creative flair. Instead of creating depth, this combination makes the overall look predictable and unsurprising. Although the sculpted hand detail was a recurring theme throughout the event, its use in this case failed to elevate the overall look. The end result is a look with many visual ideas, but lacking cohesion, making the overall effect fragmented rather than bold as expected. Cardi B appeared for the 7th time in a bespoke Marc Jacobs design, pushing the fashion as art philosophy into a bold, yet aesthetically controversial approach. Inspired by the fragmented body forms in Hans Belmer's work, the outfit exploited the distortion of form to create a surreal effect. However, the execution leaned more towards visual extremism than the sophistication of haute couture. The silhouettes were manipulated with exaggerated proportions and pronounced padding, creating the illusion of deliberately distorted bodies, but lacking the fluidity in transitions to maintain artistic elegance. Thin black lace over a nude background was constructed into large, voluminous sections at the shoulders and lower body, dividing the body into distinct segments, making the overall look more reminiscent of abstract anatomy than a complete fashion design. Although the layers of structure are subtly accented with lighter shades like lavender, coral, and pink, these details are almost completely lost within the heavy outer form, failing to create visual balance or soften the overall composition. Instead of adding depth of color, These hues are scattered and lack connection to the main structure of the outfit. The neat high-bun hairstyle, combined with smoky eye makeup and nude purple-toned lips, maintains a polished look. But it's still insufficient to balance the complexity of the outfit. The contrast between minimalist makeup and the intricate structure of the garment creates a lack of necessary harmony. Instead of becoming a controlled surrealist statement, this look leans more towards shock value than artistic depth. The final result feels like a performance-oriented design experiment, but fails to achieve a balance between bold ideas and refined aesthetics. Irina Shayk offers a rather bold interpretation of the theme fashion is art, choosing a design that is almost revealing. Yet the overall effect is controversial due to its emphasis on visual impact rather than subtlety. The design, created by Alexander Wang, features a tiny bra made from metal threads mimicking gold, silver, and recycled diamonds from watch straps. The initial idea was to celebrate the human form as a living sculpture, but the integration of a watch face as the central element, along with the gemstone embellishments, makes the overall design overly ornate, lacking the necessary balance of a high-end design, instead of maintaining minimalism to highlight the artistic concept. The excessive use of watch-shaped accessories from necklaces and bracelets to decorative chains around the body makes the composition cluttered and difficult to focus on a single focal point. The vertical details along the body, extending from the top down to the waist, further enhance the visual dispersion, making the overall look lack continuity. According to the information provided, the design required hundreds of hours of handcrafted work. But the final effect feels unnecessarily complex, as if the idea was spread out instead of refined. The combination of the highly expressive top and the low-waisted black skirt that extends to the floor creates an unbalanced proportion, resulting in an overall shape lacking the usual symmetry seen on high-end red carpets. Even the lightly wavy hairstyle and bright makeup, intended to draw attention to the jewelry, weren't enough to soften the complexity of the outfit. Instead of creating a unified whole, the look resembles a collection of accessories placed side by side rather than a complete fashion design. With so many details vying for attention, Irina Shayk's appearance this time becomes one example of how artistic ideas can be overwhelmed by excessive expression, resulting in a striking look that lacks cohesion and overall sophistication. Lisa, in her role as a member of the organizing committee, appeared in a custom-designed Robert I gown, but the overall effect leaned more towards dramatic performance than aesthetic balance. The dress, inspired by the image of a bride lifting her veil, featured a sheer, bone-toned fishtail silhouette combined with surreal sculptural elements, creating an ambitious yet controversial image. The most striking element was the three-sleeved structure extending from the back, supporting a veil covered in Swarovski crystals. While the idea was supposedly inspired by traditional Thai dance poses, the execution felt stiff and mechanical, making the inherently symbolic detail seem unnatural and lacking the necessary fluidity. Despite the elaborate investment of thousands of hours of hand embroidery and tens of thousands of crystals, the final effect was visually overwhelming. Too many elements coexisting in one composition make the outfit heavy and difficult to identify the main focal point. The combination of multiple layers of high-end jewelry, including a powerful snake-shaped necklace, further increases the overall complexity. However, instead of elevating the look, these details make the image dense, detracting from the core concept. The light pink makeup and ice-colored nails create a soft and cool feeling, but lack the contrast to harmonize with such a highly theatrical design. The neat bun hairstyle with a small curl, while tidy, is rather safe and lacks surprise. The overall concept aims to combine cultural heritage, craftsmanship, and contemporary creativity, but the implementation of too many layers of ideas makes the final result chaotic, more attention-grabbing than creating a truly cohesive and harmonious artistic image. The Met Gala has always been a place that encourages experimentation and unconventionality in fashion. But as we've seen, not every bold choice yields the desired results. It's this disparity between success and failure that creates the special allure of the event, where each outfit becomes a statement. Whether praised or debated, if you enjoyed this analytical video, remember to like, subscribe, and leave your comments. Because discussions about fashion like this are certainly far from over,